Hello and welcome to this Let's Play of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Fall of the Foot Clan, on the original Game Boy, and I'm playing this on the Super Game Boy 2. This might be the first bit of gameplay footage I've recorded since getting the second iteration of the Super Game Boy. There isn't a huge difference between the first and second Super Game Boys, except for the fact that this runs at the correct clock speed. Now, as you can see, Konami have done very well to compress lots of the character, art, vibe, I suppose, of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles into a single pocket-sized game. And it's a really enjoyable game, if relatively short, but then again, many Game Boy games are quite short. It's got all of the characters and themes and things that you would remember from the cartoon shows. If you were like me, a kid of the late 80s and early 90s, probably would have been involved in some way in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle mania. I know that I was. Oh man, I had a lot of VHS tapes with the cartoons on. I had a lot of toys. I remember when I was a youngster, I had an operation. And when I came out from the operation, I think as a way of distracting me from the fact that I was in hospital, I was inundated with so many amazing toys. I had all of the different turtles. I had the van. There was this really cool van that came out in the 90s. And when the door opened, bombs kind of rolled out of it. And it was just the coolest thing. I can remember laying all of my toys out in the living room once and being like, I've got everything here. Anyway, the cool thing about this game is that, yeah, you can choose one of the 4 different turtles. They all have slightly different playstyles, but actually it's more aesthetic than it is mechanic. I think that they may have slightly different reaches. But as you can see, it is a side-scrolling beat-em-up, but a little bit different from, say, some of the games you might be used to, like Streets of Rage, in the sense that most enemies take a single hit. And I suppose because of the small Game Boy screen, things come at you quite quickly, and they're also dispatched quite quickly. It's kind of like a Twitch beat-em-up. There isn't much time for faffing around, and if you don't respond almost immediately to the stuff that's coming on screen, you will take damage. So you've got to be pretty fast at spotting the danger. Now, this third section of the first stage has added danger because we have foot soldiers driving their cool motorized trike sort of thing. And you've got to be pretty careful to make sure you jump at the right point so you don't get hit. It isn't one of those games where you only take a couple of hits and you die. You get a relatively generous life meter. And of course, you can fill the life meter by eating pizza. I haven't yet figured out whether the pizzas drop randomly. I think that they drop randomly. You seem to get at least a couple of opportunities for munching down on pizza. I always found that very interesting, actually, that the turtles like pizza so much. I mean, they've all got Italian names, I guess, but turtles eating pizza? Oh yeah, just showing off there that there is a nunchuck attack. If you press down and fire, you can launch nunchucks, and they're actually completely that you get unlimited ammo with them, basically, so you can't run out of them. Right, this is the final part of the first stage now, back into the sewers. And you have to hand it to Konami, I think. They really did know how to make the most of the Game Boy hardware. They were responsible for some fantastic franchises on the system. Not just these games, but obviously the Castlevania games, which I'm very fond of. Obviously, the second one is the best there. Now we have these falling hazards, but also Gradius and other things. And Contra, obviously. Yeah, and really, the games work pretty flipping well for games that were mostly arcade games or on more powerful systems. They did very well at maximizing this, what the Game Boy could actually do, and using it to best effect, and recreating them, in a way that's still enjoyable. Right. A few guys flying at you now. It's quite hard when they fly over you and end up behind you. That can be difficult. Right. Oh, I think I said nunchucks earlier and I meant shurikens, didn't I? Anyway, you can forgive that. This is on-the-fly commentary. It's relatively easy to dodge those falling blocks if you just wait a moment. There's some much-needed pizza. And when I was first playing this on the actual DMG, I couldn't see that you could destroy those barrels there. Right, I've forgotten the names of all of these enemies. I did know them at one point and probably had figurines of them, but the tactic for this first guy, it pretty much is just to spam attack, because you can basically destroy his bullets. So I decided that instead of trying anything fancy, I just spam attack and take him down. Turtles in a half shell. Turtle power. Okay, you get a refill on the life. It's like Nando's, but with life instead of Diet Coke. This is the Japanese version, by the way, so I don't actually know what it says. Something like, let's chase them to the next stage. And there's Donatello looking really badass. I think probably I didn't realise that the different characters have different advantages and disadvantages and just keep pressing go on the same character every time. This one's a bit of a more difficult stage because you've got to dodge these rising and falling ramps. But anyway, just on the point I was making about the Japanese versions of the games, much of my... Apart from the games I had originally from being a youngster back in the 90s, much of the games that I collect nowadays or rebuy from eBay are Japanese iterations. If you didn't know, the DMG is completely region-free, so it doesn't matter where the carts come from. But with the current climate in video game prices, things are very expensive. Particularly if you want to collect PAL or probably American NTSC territories, the prices are very high. But the games are essentially the same, so most often I will go for the Japanese version if I can find it, even if it means waiting for it to come from Japan, because many of the games are a whole lot cheaper and much better value for money. The Japanese games cost what I think the games are worth, whereas the PAL versions cost the modern kind of craze that's happened after the lockdown and everything. I don't know what's happening with video game prices, but I don't think these games are worth crazy money. Particularly because you can beat most of them in under 20 minutes once you know what you're doing. You know, many DMG games were quite small because of the limitations on the cartridge size. And it's really interesting looking into development on the Game Boy, because there's lots of different restrictions that are in place for developers. We've got these big rolling balls here which you can dodge. You have a limitation in terms of the number of colours, obviously. The background sprites have 4 colours and the foreground sprites, I believe, have 3, unless you do some magic manipulations with the memory. But also there's limitations for how many sprites can be displayed on screen, but not only that, in a single line, I believe, on the screen. So you've got to be very careful in terms of how you display stuff, otherwise you get glitches. But you will see that many different developers kind of push the system to its limits, which is fine, but what you will notice here and there when there's a lot going on screen is firstly a bit of slowdown. This game does suffer from a touch of slowdown, but also disappearing sprites. So when things are moving, you may see that they kind of come in and out of view, and when next time that happens, I'll point that out. But I actually don't mind it. To me, it's kind of like a quirk of this time in gaming. You can see that I took a hit there because it is quite busy. Really, there's a lot that goes on screen, and you've got to be very alive to different threats, especially when you've got falling blocks and foot soldiers and everything else that's going on. But we're making our way through, making use of the different attacks that you have. The jump attack is very powerful. In so many side-scrolling beat-em-ups, the jump attack is very powerful. It's a tactic that I use a lot in Golden Axe on the Mega Drive. You spam jumping attacks, you seem to be a bit more powerful. Anyway, here's a second boss. And I remember the tactic, which is that you want to get behind him and give him a bashing from behind, so to speak. But it's always sod's law that when you actually do a gameplay, nothing goes to plan. Anyway, you get to see what happens. Nobody dies in this game; they just get captured. Obviously, if all of your turtles get captured, you lose. But here's my second attempt, remembering what to do. You get behind him and bash him, so you can mostly avoid his gun attack, and it goes a bit better this time. But yeah. In the second game, very interesting, there are 3 games on the Game Boy. The second game, you have an opportunity to rescue turtles that are captured. You can't do that in this one. So you essentially get 4 lives. And I have managed to beat it, I think losing only 1 turtle, but we don't see that on this gameplay, because obviously whenever you're recording stuff, things go wrong. Anyway, look at these cool cutscenes. Really nice little bits of animation. No idea what it says because it's in Japanese, but I love it. I love these kind of stills. Again, making the most of the colours. And I'm using the default Super Game Boy palette that comes here. Now this is a very impressive stage because you've got scrolling backgrounds. Again, if you ever messed around with developing on the Game Boy, these little things you come to really appreciate because they take effort. They really do take effort, man, and they push the system to its limits. But yeah, I love a bit of a scrolling along lorries. What games have that? Well, Sunset Riders has scrolling along trains. Yeah, and Shinobi on the Mega Drive also had a degree of scrolling along lorries, didn't it? I love these kind of stages. And I should also say that the music is extremely fast-paced and very, very good. It's very important for Game Boy games because there isn't a huge amount that can be done graphically compared to other systems. They've got to have pumped, energetic music to really, yeah, give you that feeling of excitement. Right, there are some new enemies on this stage, which are the guys that lob bricks at you, and you can actually punch those back in self-defense. It's quite nice that he twirls his little tridents, his hand tridents, as he's walking. Very nonchalant given the level of danger he's presumably in. Here he is, look. Oh, I didn't manage to dodge it there. I think you can bash those back at them. Get the pizza! Man, pizza is so rejuvenating. I know how that feels. After a long day, a slice of pizza makes you feel good. There are two different ways of getting pizza refills. Some of them just drop like that, and other ones float above you, and you have to kind of punch them down. Either way, it's all very, very good for you. Taking a few hits here. Certainly not the cleanest run I've ever done. But it'll do. And here we have the boss. This guy, I've forgotten his name. Again, causes me a problem. I did memorize a way of getting him down quite well, which was to jump when he swoops. The wheels fall off a little bit. Never mind, you get to see a bit more of him. Yeah, you get a very annoying danger noise when you're on 3 health or less. Yep. Yeah, it's not going so well. The trick is to basically jump at the right time and dodge his projectile attack. But sadly, Raphael also gets captured. Sorry, Raphael. There is no way of freeing you, so it's like the Crystal Maze. You basically have to sit still and watch on. I think the second time round, because I've got enough life, I just kind of brute force it. Yeah. I'm like, why did I forget my tactic? I had a working system on this boy. This guy might be the hardest boss in the game, actually, for me. The other ones all seem to go down pretty easy. Yeah, you can see what I'm trying to do now, which is hop over as he comes, get a kick into his nasty fly face, and then move out of the range of the projectiles. But now I realise I've got 4 health and he's got 1, so I can just basically brute force him. I like the death animations. You get a bit of noise, and upside down, dead guy floats away. Alright. That's that stage down. Give me a health refill, please. Oh man, I love those stills. Oh man, they look so cool, don't they? I almost feel like I want to watch some Turtles VHS tapes. I guess everybody's in Turtles mode at the moment because the new game Shredder's Revenge, as it called, is on the Nintendo Switch and other systems now, which I really have to play because it looks phenomenal. I love it when new companies remake games faithfully, well, sorry, not remake games, make new games but faithfully to the spirit of the originals. Kind of like we saw with Sonic Mania. There's something that's very hard to put your finger on about the soul of a game that can be difficult to emulate. And I think that's a really interesting point from a Sonic point of view, because we've had lots and lots of Sonic games that to me haven't felt right. They haven't looked in the right vein. They haven't had the soul of the originals. Certainly Sonic Frontiers, is that the new game that's coming out, looked a bit flat to me for all of its great graphics. And there's something that someone who gets the game and really respects the source material is able to replicate. And from what I'm reading, the guys that made Shredder's Revenge have really managed to do that. Similar with Headcanon and the devs behind Sonic Mania. That game had all of the things I remember liking about Sonic. And it's super important to sort of try to get into that. I don't know what other word to use other than soul of the originals and respect them in that way. So yeah, I'm super excited to download that soon. But probably I will master the first 3 Game Boy games before I do that. I do believe there is a kind of Turtles Classics collection penned for release on modern systems soon as well, which will include the 3 Game Boy games and I think some of the arcade games, the NES games, really a whole host, a whole library. I do like it when re-releases go the extra mile as well and put some of the lesser known titles in there. Sometimes I feel like re-releases are a little bit lazy. Sonic Origins I've really been enjoying recently, but it is only 4 games, and stuff like Knuckles Chaotix and some of the less known games, Master System games, seem to just not, they get overlooked. And I find it odd that canon titles often just get missed out, whereas others get re-released over and over and over again. And it seems like the Turtles re-release is quite respectful in the sense that it's included a real breadth of the titles that exist. Right, this stage is quite tough. Not just because of the volume of the enemies and hazards, but because of the type of enemies. You've got these little star things that appear. I don't even know what they really are, but these two things here, they're quite challenging because they come to the level that you're at, almost homing in on you. First time I played this game, I didn't realise you could actually beat them. Now that I know that, it makes it a bit easier. It's best just to try to dispatch them as soon as possible before they get to your level. With a lot of quick turning backwards and forwards. As you'll see, quick turning backwards and forwards just to try to clear the screen, because it gets very busy. Quite gnarly. Yeah, you'll see that there, a little bit of sprite flickering. Presumably those big wheels are maybe 4 sprites, all chained together. The character itself looks like at least a 32 by 32 pixel sprite, so it's a big sprite game, and so the Game Boy memory can't quite handle that without a little bit of flicker, which I really don't mind that much. I was a bit annoyed there because I was actually at the end of the level, but it didn't activate. Right, this guy, not too bad. Interesting sound effects when you hit him, but you just need to bash him in the stomach and then move away real quick before he gets a chance for a downward slash, and then just, yeah, basically jump. And he makes an interesting sound when he's hit, like a brrrr. Nice animations on his sword slash. Did I take a hit there? I'm not sure. Oh, certainly took a hit there. We're in the warning situation, but he goes down pretty easy. He is the second to last boss. Turtle power! I'm sorry, I just kind of had to shout that. Fill me up. Thank you. And now we move on to the Turtles equivalent of the Death Star. I have no idea what it's called. It does have a name. I do remember it. I think there was also a toy of that, wasn't there? I think everything had a toy in this day and age. Yeah, we get down to the last level with only 2 turtles remaining. Are all of them going to survive till the end? Probably not. Right, yeah. This level has 2 new enemies. At least 2 new enemies. Those weird robot guys. And they are interesting because if you don't dispatch them quickly, they've got very powerful attacks. So the trick with them is to jump attack them. And once I learned that you can jump attack them and they die in 1 hit, they are much less dangerous. You need to make sure you do that. Right, these lasers are odd, because normally lasers go down then disappear, but they actually kind of go backwards and forth in a slow reciprocity, which is a little bit annoying and unusual, but you know, it is what it is. Probably more dangerous, so from a security point of view, it's maybe not a bad decision. Yep, so you see I'm jump attacking and kicking those robots right in the face. The robots have faces. Yeah, it has a little visor thing, that'll do. Anybody know what those skeletal dinosaur things are? They're quite odd. I don't remember those from the cartoons. Presumably all of this stuff is in the cartoons, but it's been so flipping long. Wouldn't it be nice if you could play as April? Maybe like if you could unlock April or something. I don't think April features, certainly not in this first, I don't think she features in the first and second games as a playable character. I don't know about the third because I haven't played it yet. I have got it, but I've not played it. And I believe the third features some Metroidvania type elements, maybe like skilling up. So I'm really stoked to try that one out once I've beat the second one. And I'll do gameplay videos of them as I go along. Right, we've got the theme music playing now. That theme music just makes you automatically kind of pumped. Yeah, this bit's tough because you have side-scrolling hazards that cannot be punched, they have to be dodged, and I wasn't very alive to that there. So I took a bit of a hit, and I'm thinking, oh, I'm not on great health. As I start to approach the final boss, I could do with more healths. Pizza, yep, again I take that right in the face. Oh dear. I thought turtles are meant to have very, very long lives. Shouldn't these guys have a little bit more health than they do? I'm pretty sure my wife's grandma had a turtle that lived well into its 40s and 50s. There we go. That time I dodged it. But I like that extra little hazard there. Extra element of challenge. And we have the Death Stars coming back, which I just, again, kick. That one there don't need no dodging. You just stay still, as long as you don't jump. Which is nice. Here's a floating pizza box. Man, that must be like the Deliveroo of the future, where instead of it coming to your door through a van or a scooter or whatever, it floats in the air, maybe via drone. Is that a bit Black Mirror, maybe? That could definitely happen. Drone deliveries of pizzas. What kind of dystopian future am I imagining where ham and pineapple falls from the sky? Actually, I'm vegetarian, so I wouldn't have ham and pineapple. Also, never quite sure about pineapple on pizza. Let me know in the comments below what kind of pizzas you like if you've watched this far, which none of you probably have. Haha, joking. Right, here he is. This guy is Krang, right? The last boss. And, again, I couldn't quite remember what the tactic was. He's got this big jump attack. Actually, now I know what to do. He's not that hard, but I fluff it up a little bit, so I think he takes 2 goes. Yep, down to red, and now I'm like, oh no, I'm panicking. I'm panicking. And yeah, he's got... because I took one of those kicks there right in the kidneys, they seem to take more than 1 hit. Anyway, I'm like, I'm not taking one of those again. So this time round, I will be smarter. I think you literally just need to hit him and then move away. And also jump. Yeah, that's it. Just jump in the corner there to dodge that attack. It's funny, we did a pub quiz a few months ago in lockdown. And I think a couple of us did kids' cartoon rounds, and completely independently of each other, 2 people's quizzes picture round involved Krang, which I thought was absolutely hilarious. Krang is such an underspoken about character. Anyway, look at this. This is a great death animation. He sort of fades into the background and disintegrates into pieces. Love it. Right, that is the whole game, Fall of the Foot Clan. Really enjoyable title, isn't it? And it's a real good omen for things to come because the next game really improves upon this. Anyway, we have a lovely little rescue. Here's April. And a nice little ditty. A happy ditty. I don't know what that says. Maybe it says, "May I kiss you?" even though that's a weird kind of thing to say to a turtle. Maybe it says, "You're free." Anyway, now we get some cool sprite shaking effects. And the whole thing goes down and is destroyed. And then a cool jazzy little outro. Do we get a bit more of a... No, we just get the credits. Right. Thank you very much for watching, guys. Stay tuned because the second game will be along shortly. Take care and I'll speak to you all soon. Bye.